So I started trading crypto and learning more and more about the different tokens in our crypto world and how each one serves as a building block for new economic futures and collective belief systems. So I was like, okay, how hard is it to create your own token? Created a token, and it helped plant over 4,500 certified trees all over the world. And from that, we got big organizational interest, like three commas, Google, IEEE, that would want to expand the vision. And they were like, we can help to support all sorts of regenerative actions all over the world. Let's see how we can use tokenomics and other mechanism design to go for this. So we are now creating a DAO called Acorn DAO. And Acorn DAO is a regenerative NFT marketplace for incentivizing actions that increase and maintain native ecosystems. So paying for tree planting, paying for ocean conservation, paying for environmental action.
Yeah.
Definitely. Okay, I'll give a quick background on, first of all, when I got interested in crypto, which was in college, reading Hacker News. This was like in 2010, 2011, and they were talking about Bitcoin. And I read the descriptions of proof of work, and I was like, this is really cool. And I remember way back in the day going on local Bitcoins and taking my $600 and going to the bank and wiring it to another account and thinking this is a really bad idea. I have no money and I'm sending my money to another address. Well, let's see how this goes. And I totally forgot about it. Completely didn't think about crypto again until 2017 when everything was getting really excitable. And that's when I started paying attention again. And I really did not like what I was seeing. That was during ICO craze. And I remember Filecoin. Filecoin launched, and they didn't have a product. They had a white paper, and they raised, I think, $180 million for a product that didn't exist. And I was like, okay, this is all the proof I need. Cryptocurrency is a complete scam. I'm selling my 2/3 of Bitcoin, and I'm out. But at the same time, I was like, when this excitement dies down, I would like to figure out what is here, like what value is there in the system that we can capture. And that started probably a year-long mental journey where I came to the conclusion that, you know what, most of the world's value is public goods. Education, scientific discovery, disease prevention, a good life for all people, opportunity. Basically, all of the best things in the world are public goods, and our economic system doesn't store that value. So there's this enormous untapped potential for cryptocurrency to capture this value if we can just figure out how to do it. And that's when I first found, I think the first one I found was Gitcoin, and then that led me to Token Engineering Commons, which brought me to Giveth, and I wound up starting to contribute at OneHive. And OneHive it's a DAO platform, super decentralized, but the project that I first started working on is Gardens, which is the OneHive governance platform that anyone can set up a DAO in that governance framework in a few minutes. So that's what I've been doing since then. Yeah, that's the goal for me for the rest of my working life is to find a way to capture the value of public goods and make them better. So I think we all kind of gave our personal history and our product background a little bit, and with something heard from Giveth and Token Engineering Commons.
Thanks, Paul. Yeah, so I talked a little bit about my personal history, but not really so much about Giveth. Giveth, if you don't know about Giveth, it's Giveth.io. It's a platform for charity. It's a platform for nonprofits, for public goods projects, for any for-good project to raise funds in crypto. And I honestly think it's the best donation platform in the world because when a project can show that it's actually providing public goods, providing good for society, it can become verified, and then we actually Giveth gives give tokens. Giveth basically pays the donors to give to those projects. So like our whole mission at Given is to reward and empower those who give. So reward and empower the donors, and reward and empower the people on the ground who are doing good work. And one way that we want to do that is by using Web3 to create like gamification and to create this kind of system where we can use tokenomics and reward those people. So it's like donors give to projects, and then donors get rewarded in give tokens. And then give tokens have utility in the entire Given ecosystem. We have liquidity mining opportunities, and it's also give tokens are used as the Given governance token in our garden by OneHive. So that's like our DAO where we vote to fund proposals through the DAO. So other projects or other proposals that are in line with our Given mission can request funding from the DAO, and then give token holders can actually vote on it. So in this way, we're also like empowering our donors with governance rights over the platform and over the system. So there's a lot to get into there, but I will also give a quick introduction to the Token Engineering Commons, which is another group that I'm actively involved in. The Token Engineering Commons mission is to advance the field of token engineering. And the thing that I think is so amazing about the Token Engineering Commons, is very relevant to this panel, is how inclusive the community is. There's like a huge focus on building the culture and building the community, and then empowering the community to build the DAO that they're a part of. So it's really like founded with Ostrom's principles, and it's like Ostrom has the quote, Eleanor Ostrom has the quote that the people on the ground have the greatest incentive to get the system right. So they have the best, I'm paraphrasing, but they have the best ability to create the system that affects them. So the Token Engineering Commons just recently launched a bonding curve, and they launched their TEC token, and the entire system, the DAO and the augmented bonding curve, was designed collaboratively, like with the entire community getting involved. Anyone could come in, learn about the parameters for the DAO, learn about the parameters of an augmented bonding curve, learn what even is an augmented bonding curve, and then start to put forward proposals that then the community debated and talked about. And we had these parties where we were teaching people, and then we had debates where we were talking about which params were the best params, and then we had votes. We had one layer voting, and then we had the runoff vote afterwards. So it's really, really cool. The Token Engineering Commons now has its augmented bonding curve, and it has a garden as well, where they're funding proposals that are against digital token engineering. And the entire system was designed collectively as a community with everybody who was involved in the TC. So I think that's really powerful.
Yeah. Okay. Nice. Let's start talking about public goods, and then we'll rope in inclusion, because these are interrelated in some interesting ways. But let's first, Lauren, can you tell us what public good is?
Yeah, I can tell. So public goods are basically anything that is non-excludable and non-rivalrous. So it's things that we can all enjoy. Your cell phone is excludable and rivalrous. If you're using your cell phone, no one else can use it. And you're the only one who can have your cell phone. But public goods are things like clean air or clean water or roads that we can all drive on. They're things that my enjoyment doesn't impede your enjoyment, and things that we all benefit from. And I think it's a really big thing in Web3 right now, talking about public goods and how we can create funding for public goods and how we can create more public goods, because it's these things that we all enjoy and that we all actually need, like public education and taking care of the homeless. But they're things that we depend on governments and we depend on nonprofits to provide for us. And things that society actually doesn't really place a lot of value on. A lot of it's not driven by profit. And people are making tons of money by providing public goods. We're actually depending on governments who are requiring taxes in order to maintain the roads that we are driving on. And we depend on nonprofits who have to beg for donations and sacrifice in order to take care of our rivers and our oceans that we also all depend on and we need in order to live on the earth. So public goods are, I think, like the foundation for society. And if we can find a way to provide abundant public goods for everybody that everyone can enjoy and benefit from and create feedback mechanisms that people can influence the public goods that they care about, then we can just have a better, more harmonious world where people are taken care of, where homeless people are taken care of, where the environment is better. And I think that there's huge potential in the growth that can come out of that.
Nice. Yeah. So I want to hear So both Kyle and TR, I'm interested in how you guys went through the thought process of deciding what you guys were going to fund with your projects, if that makes sense.
So we made toilet paper roll NFTs. So originally we wanted to do renal health, donate to renal health, but we decided that if we donated directly to like a Colitis Foundation or something like that, that we wouldn't be able to really gauge the impact that our contribution like created. So Joshua Lapidus, the founder of Opolis, he was kind of the creator of the project, and he said, well, I remember seeing this thing called RIP Medical Debt on John Oliver on Last Week Tonight, and he said that they buy people's medical debt for like pennies on the dollar. So whatever contribution we made to them, we would basically 100x it, and we were all into crypto, 100x, yeah, so we leveraged our money, and I feel like even though RIP Medical Debt was maybe the smallest contribution that we made, it may have actually been, well, it was the most immediately impactful. I know that what we were able to provide for Giveth and Gitcoin, those are going to have like long-term downstream benefits. But yeah, I mean, basically, most of it was a joke. We knew that Gitcoin and Giveth, we were going to donate to them, but deciding RIP Medical Debt, it fit our meme. So I think that's why we went with that. Oh.
Yeah. I want to go back into public goods for a second. I mentioned open source code being a public good, and the majority of projects right now on Gitcoin are open source code projects. So we really need to empower developers to become stakeholders of this entire movement. And part of the way is by financially rewarding the effort that they do. For myself, my passion is the environment. That's my life. And I started learning about what Toucan Protocol was doing, which was bringing voluntary carbon credits into the blockchain world, and was very amazed by what Toucan Protocol was doing, as well as like Single Earth, where they were doing biodiversity and nature. And then started thinking about carbon credits are one of the things that are valued in our marketplace, but there's also in the future going to be space for water quality offsets, soil quality offsets, other air quality offsets. So if we're going to be able to measure and verify the benefits from these regenerative actions, then the donations, the funds that we are putting towards these actions are actually not just going to be a donation, it's going to be an investment that accrues value over time. Because, for example, a tree, when it's growing, sequesters more carbon over time. So it can create this circular effect that just feeds upon itself and feeds upon itself to get more and more funding channeled towards these types of actions. So that's our thinking behind it.
Very cool. I'll add Garden's stance on this, I guess. So our hope is that we can build sustainable token economies that fund a purpose, and that purpose is up to you. If you want to, if your mission is to end homelessness in your town or to restore the environment in an area, you write a constitution. You say this is our purpose. We're creating a token, and the goal of this token is to fix this problem. And from that moment, you have an on-chain constitution, and you have a community of people who are bound on the blockchain to build value for this purpose. And if they don't do that, we have this arbitration protocol, Celeste, and that's where someone can say, hey, this guy is scamming us, or he's not accomplishing our mission, and you can dispute him. And then a random jury of people will look at the Constitution, and they'll look at this funding proposal from this person, and they'll say, is this contributing to our goal? And through this, we create a system that creates a store of value whose goal is this mission. And it's kind of this beautiful new thing where no longer do you need a donation or taxes to fund this. You can actually fund it through the inherent value of that goal being a good thing for the world. So that's our approach on public goods. Let's talk about the idea of inclusion as a public good. So Lauren, you want to start on that?
Sure, yeah. The idea of inclusion of public good. We were talking about this a little bit before, and yeah, we were talking about like even in DAO communities, how including people then becomes a public good of itself. And so like if we create inclusive communities that bring people into our orgs and into our projects and get aligned with the ideas, then more people come in. And it's like, I think that one of the things that we're building here in Web3 is really like cultural. It's like really cultural community, and how can we like build more like good systems to communicate with each other, to resolve conflicts, and then to like ultimately meet these missions. I really am like a huge fan of Austin's principles, and just this idea that people on the ground have the best incentive to create the systems that they're affected by, and to create a new world for themselves. And so it's like, I think creating inclusive communities and communicating with each other and resolving conflicts is like a critical foundation in order to then provide more public goods for society. Like in the token engineering commons, we have something called Gravity, which is conflict resolution. They're actually starting their own DAO as well. It's like a conflict resolution DAO, and they practice nonviolent communication, and they learn about spiral dynamics and a lot of different methods for understanding how people communicate and can relate to each other. And then whenever there's conflicts that arise, you can talk to a graviton. A graviton is like a gravity representative who can help support the conflict to like come to a happy ending. And then there's also like great community inclusion activities and events. Like we have lounges and spaces where people can just come and hang out and talk about whatever. And I think that like when we include people in our circles, and even in like social ways, and take care of people as well, then we actually like are able to build even stronger together. I think it's something that like in our like, you know, other corporate world situation, there's like this like push, like just like and missing the human element of like how people being taken care of and being taken care of emotionally and people feeling included. It's sort of missed from the regular corporate world, but then we're actually doing so much better, I think, at DAOs. And the TC and Give It is like one of these spaces where it's like we're including people, and then we're working towards building public goods to provide for like all of society so that we can include everybody in more abundance. And I think it's like it's kind of meta, you know? It's really cool how those layers build on top of each other. Yeah, it was really interesting. You know, I was watching a little bit of the panel before us, and just thinking of, you know, being a woman in the blockchain space and how it sometimes can be intimidating. But it's really funny because when I joined Giveth, I didn't really experience that at all. Because Giveth is like super inclusive. I felt like I came into the community and everyone was really, really welcoming. Like Griff is amazing at welcoming people into calls. Everyone who walks into the call, they like can't get away with being greeted. He's always like, "Hey, welcome to the call. This is what we're talking about." And that was my experience coming into the Discord. I just stumbled into it. I didn't have like any real reason to be there, and I felt shy. But I got pulled into it and then encouraged to start taking on more tasks. And then I felt encouraged. I was like being like praised. We have a system called Praise as well. I don't know if you guys have heard of Praise, but it's like a way of basically it's building a culture of gratitude that then actually rewards people. So it's like at any point if you appreciate somebody, you can type in the praise channel praise at Paul for leading an awesome panel. You know, and then Paul will get a little notification that he's praised, and then it'll get like tracked in a spreadsheet, and it's really, really cool. So I think like we're creating this culture of gratitude and bringing people into DAOs, and like my experience coming into the Web3 space was like really, really inclusive. Like everybody was super welcoming to me, and I think it's really, really powerful for creating organizations that have like gender diversity, ethnic diversity, and just basically full of powerhouses from all around the world that are going to be solving the the problems, like creating public goods for society that we all really desperately need.
So there's an organization, a DAO, that included me over a year ago called Metagame. That's right, Metagame, rocking my Metagame shirt. And the power of Metagame to include people is very profound. The only qualification that anyone has to have who wants to join Metagame is the burning desire to answer one simple question. What the fuck is Metagame? So as long as you really actually want to know the answer to that and you're willing to dig through the wiki we built, which is like, I don't know, it's probably 50 to 100 pages at this point, anyone can join Metagame. And if I hadn't joined Metagame, I wouldn't be sitting here right now. And if, I hadn't joined Metagame, the 5,000 something people that Rainbow Rolls helped, they wouldn't have been included in the positive element of what we're doing. So, and also I had to call it Graviton one time because of Metagame. If you're in an inclusive organization that's got global reach, you're going to have all kinds of different people coming and learning to cooperate. And so you really need gravity. So I thought as soon as I saw that launch, I was like, oh my gosh, this is amazing because we really need this sort of conflict resolution DAO, like just to call them and be like, help, But yeah, so I think that, being inclusive isn't something that you just have to put extra energy into. Being inclusive is powerful. And public goods are powerful. They're not just something that you throw money at. And my personal thoughts on long-term public goods is that in a long period of time from now, autonomous public goods will kick corporations' asses because they don't need to extract a tremendous amount of value. So if it's something that you as a person it's maybe a product or a service that enriches and enhances your life, maybe 10, maybe 20 years from now, that will be virtually free. And the companies who used to offer that will be forced to compete on a level that maybe they can't. So let's talk to Acorn now.
Yeah, I appreciate everything you all said, and I really want to come at it from the perspective where I was living in Paraguay. We had no internet connection most of the time, and very little time did we have even electricity. So how can we have it to where these people are able to benefit from the public goods being created in the Web3 space and the challenges that these sort of situations are experiencing? So a lot of the people, if I were to start talking crypto or Web3 in the rural community I was living at, they had very little experience even with a computer or cell phone. Luckily nowadays, a lot of communities are getting smartphones, so they're able to start interacting. But then when they start interacting, we need to build inclusive knowledge bases that are able to on-ramp them into the space in a level that's comprehensible. So that means that we can't use our technical jargon to just explain things. We need to have them be able to understand what this technical jargon means and have them understand the concepts that are underlying this constitution as to what we're wanting to be created into the future. And with that, we can build more inclusive communities because as a DAO, we want to include as many ideas as possible because we're not going to be stuck in that mindset that we have one way and this is the way and this is how we're going to do it all the time. We're going to branch off in distinct streams that could potentially in themselves become DAOs and other organizations. So encourage that sort of experimentation within all of our communities is really crucial, and bringing in that diverse mindset from not only developed countries, but developing countries that have been experiencing these real world goods and these forests and what it means to them, their values and beliefs behind it, for as long as they've been part of that ecosystem. So yeah, that's what I wanted to bring right there.
Nice. I've got a question for anyone to answer. Can you think of a time where the purpose of your organization, be it the one you're at now or one in the past, the purpose was hurt by the fact that there wasn't a something exclusive happening? So it's a culture or a mindset prevented something good from being created because it wasn't inclusive?
Yeah, I can go.
Nice.
So right now on the screen, we have Acorn DAO as the name of the organization that I'm helping to create. This name was created in an exclusive manner by only four different individuals that were wanting to create this sort of concept. Acorn in itself has been overused by so many different businesses and organizations, and it does not fully capture the concepts that this community wants to create. So 2 days ago, we finished a contest that renamed our entire organization. Anybody from anywhere was able to submit a name and logo that was going to capture the ideas that we're wanting to bring forward in our community. And now, Acorn has transformed itself into Avano. And Avano has a lot of context to it. It is actually in Guarani, which is a language of Paraguay, an indigenous language of Paraguay. Avano means society. So we're creating a society that believes in indigenous wisdom and environmental knowledge to create this new technology format that's able to support regenerative action. And that much better encapsulates the idea behind the organization than Acorn. So we're very appreciative that we were able to take a step back and say, this was not a great decision on our part. We need to rebrand, rename, be more inclusive of all these ideas that this community has brought together.
Very nice. I'll share a personal story of my life right after college when I moved to Orem, Utah, and this is an area of Utah right near BYU. It's very heavily LDS, and I came in as not an LDS person. I had no real knowledge of this. This is commonly known as the Mormon Church, and this community was very homogenous, and they were welcoming in a way that they would like you to join their community, but it came with a lot of caveats. Like you can only join if A, B, C, and D are met, and this created a culture that, from an outsider's perspective, it was so easy to see how much they're missing. And since then, now I understand the LDS Church very well, and I meet people in the LDS Church who are not in this specific homogenous area, who you can just see they have a much better worldview of understanding that their worldview sits in a world that has many, many worldviews. And I think this is just one microcosm of this, but we see this everywhere, like in geographic locations, in digital communities. We see like a bunch of people who think really similarly get together and they agree with each other a lot, and you lose so much when you don't have other viewpoints that are showing you how your way of thinking is narrow, because we're all kind of monkeys. Like we don't have huge brains, and it's hard for us to see this stuff, but we don't get to see it like very vividly.
And I was also, I mean, thinking about times when exclusions happen and how it's negatively affected something. I have something that's like, it was like there was no other way. I mean, when we were doing the collaborative economics process with the token engineering commons, the way that it worked was that before we were designing the real commons, designing the augmented bonding curve, we had people who wanted to be hatchers to be able to put funds in, and then those hatchers got hatch tokens, and those hatch tokens would be the ones that were able to vote on proposals to decide which one becomes the token engineering commons. So it's like if you got there before a certain amount of time, you were able to put in funds, or if you contributed before a certain time, you were able to put in funds and get these hatch tokens, which would be your ticket to be voting on like the DAO that affects you. But then while we were doing the collaborative economics process, we were sharing a lot about it on Twitter, we were sharing it with other communities, and we were getting a lot more awesome people interested in the token engineering commons, in the bonding curve, and in the DAO that we were creating. And I was leading a lot of Paran parties, so it's like I got to meet tons of people from all over the space, and they were getting super excited about designing the DAO. And it was this like unfortunate situation where they weren't able to vote. They could make a proposal and they could be involved in the debates and they could influence the final design with their words, but they weren't actually able to vote in that last process. And it was like there was no other way we could do it because we needed to raise the hatch, and then we needed to close the point, and then the hatchers who had the voting tokens were able to contribute. But it was really interesting to see that like during the process of designing the DAO together, we got more people in, more people interested in, and some really awesome people. And it's like they had to wait until the bonding curve was launched before they could actually be token holders in the DAO. And so it was like it was like there was no other way to do it, but it was a little bit disappointing because we had some really great people whose like votes I think would matter. But so that's just like it's an interesting nuance, and I think like while we're designing systems and we're kind of like going through the process of doing something like collaborative economics and designing our DAOs, we could think as communities these problems and like ways in which we could mitigate them or resolve them for future projects.
Yeah, sure. Thank you, Lauren. So rather than talk about a time in the past where a lack of inclusivity has like personally impacted me, I just kind of wanted to talk a little bit about how a lot of people who want to get involved with crypto are being included, but they're being included in a way where they're being exploited. So, you have these massive Twitter influencers and their paid groups. And so many people who are joining our world are actually just joining it and immediately having value extracted out of their pockets. And they're not really getting like the experience you were talking about earlier where you kind of joined straight to give it. That must be amazing. Because that's the way people should come into the ecosystem, is go somewhere where the people you meet and what you're going to learn about is really powerful, and people actually just want to help you, and maybe develop you so that you're able to carry that torch on too and help other people. So I think that this is a big issue with onboarding people into the cryptocurrency space, and I think that a lot of like the larger interests in the space should take note of that and support projects who are positively including people and creating these beautiful, amazing experiences for people who are joining the space, like OneHive or Given or Metagame. Because hey, guess what? We're not making tons and tons of money. Our marketing budgets aren't that huge, but the value and the benefit that we're providing to the space, it is worth it. It's hugely worth it. Yeah, you got something? Perfect.
Yeah, on that onboarding spectrum too, we have like Rabbit Hole Crypto or Layer 3 that has these knowledge bases, and they are just established streams for being able to onboard people newly into the space. So being able to pay people for the knowledge that they're gaining to become part of your community is going to be very valuable into the future. And collaboration over competition in this space is a concept that is very new in corporate worlds, but it is a concept that's being held strong within the public good space, where if we collaborate together, we're going to create a more just and sustainable future for everyone, and inclusive future of all those benefits.
Nice. Yeah. Kyle, I like what you're saying about these kind of the projects that we're working with are making decisions that we as people have the choice, obviously, to contribute to projects that we feel welcome with. But then also, like, an enormous part of cryptocurrency is people buy tokens, and that's when you're buying a token, you are signaling your interest in that project succeeding. And I think we aren't at a point yet where that is the driving narrative behind why people buy tokens. Because unfortunately, a lot of people are buying tokens because I don't even know. Like, their friend told them this white paper has really good technicals, or like their buddy's buddy said that this one's gonna get huge, or whatever, like scam pump things. Like, I don't know, but there is an education element of this. It doesn't have to be this way. Everyone is making their own individual choices, and if people can make choices based on where they want to see value grow, then we can create a signaling system that actually grows these systems that we know are regenerative.
Beautiful.
Thanks. Okay, so question for everyone. 5 years from now, where would you like to see your project? How would you like to see it working 5 years from now?
Oh, okay. So I give it. So one of our main missions is to ultimately empower nonprofits to become their own DAOs. So like how Paul was talking about how Gardens has this framework where they can have an on-chain covenant and a mission, and their mission could be something like taking care of the homeless in Denver. And then they can have a DAO, and then people who care about that could be voting on proposals that are going to take care of different parts of that. Like, this is like the ultimate future vision of Given and what we're working towards over time. And I think it's really, really powerful because it also brings into play this idea of like, why are people buying tokens right now? And what if we could actually make situations where people could be buying the tokens of public goods projects that they care about? People could be, instead of donating and having to sacrifice and give money away, they could be investing in public goods projects tokens and then become a shareholder and be able to help influence the decisions on how those projects are being run and the activities they are creating. So this is the long-term vision of Given and what we're working towards right now with the Give economy. And we're calling it GERS. We're calling it GERS, and they're bonding curves for nonprofits on Give, essentially. The GERS name was a joke that turned into something that stuck, and now we're stuck with it. And really, like the idea is that we want to empower nonprofits, like bit by bit, with more Web3 tools. So nonprofits hit on the project. A lot of them come on to Given and they don't really have any experience with crypto. They don't really know how things work. They don't really know what a wallet is. And we make it really easy for them by having something called a Taurus wallet integration. And Taurus enables you to create an Ethereum wallet basically by signing in with Google or Facebook or Twitter, and then it generates an address for you, and you can sign in with your Web2 login and access that wallet. And so this is the way the Taurus wallet works. It's a really nice way of like starting to get people into the crypto space. But then once the nonprofit starts raising funds on Given, then they start to be interested in like, oh wow, like now I have some thousands of dollars in here. What can I do with it? And then with the whole Give economy, we have a gift farm. We have a liquidity mining program where people can provide liquidity and stake tokens and earn yield. And then actually a lot of the people who are earning donations on Give are staking their tokens in the Give staking pool and earning yield and getting into a little bit of this DeFi. And so it's like, we really want to be just like creating these like nuggets of like knowledge and interest so that like nonprofits and donors start to discover like the DAO space. And And then as well, with the Give Back program I was talking about, donors can donate to verified projects and get give tokens and then vote on governance decisions in our Give Garden, in our conviction voting DAO. So in this way, we're also starting to teach donors how to engage with the DAO. How, like, the donors automatically become give token holders, and when they have give tokens, they're like, what can I do with these give tokens? Oh, actually, I can influence decisions of the DAO. And so it's like, then over time, we want the donors to be able to donate to the project and then get the project tokens and then vote in the DAO of the project. And so this is like the long-term vision of Give It, and I'm really excited about moving towards this because I think it's really powerful that instead of just looking to buy a token that you think is just going to go to the moon, you could buy a token that you think is going to the moon because it's also building all the roads in your community and everybody cares about that. And so in this way that it's like projects can provide abundance for society and donors can also like see their donation actually becomes an investment and they can see their investment going to work and then they can influence the way that those public goods are being manifested and GERS.
Well, I mean, first of all, I can't wait to get more into Give It in one hive without Tulip Swarm, in a different swarm, as well as
Acorn or Ivana.
Ivana?
Yep, Ivana.
Yes, Ivana. We actually just the other day were talking about finding some organization that plants trees to donate money to, and so we didn't even think like, oh, maybe that's Acorn now or Ivana, but now, are you guys planting trees with drones?
So we're pausing our tree planting until May, and May is when our platform is expected to be launched by. And then we're going to be planting trees, helping organizations to plant trees in Uganda, Paraguay, Ireland, Portugal, all over the world. Yeah.
Sick, awesome. Yeah, I want to get involved with that too. So, and that's kind of the beauty of working in the DAO space is like, I'm going to get involved with all of what you guys are doing. And, oh, that's right, there was a question. 5 years from now, let's see, so something that weighs on my mind really heavily is what I have called the job apocalypse or job apocalypse. By 2030 or 2031, we're projected to lose like 1 billion to 1.7 billion jobs globally. And one of the speakers on the last panel was saying they're raising money for homelessness, and that is awesome. Anyone who's doing that, you're awesome. Lately, I've been making shirts that say "Hire me now," and then I just give them away to people who live on the streets. So I think we need to draw attention to this because what if 10 years from now, there's 100 times more homeless people than there are today? You know, what if there's 20 times more than there are today? So what has been driving me for the last couple of years is looking at decentralized education, because education is already kind of a public good, but it's been, what's the word? It's been captured to a certain extent. Not that it's bad or anything, but just that I think the blockchain is going to give us the power to reinvent education as a public good. And so that's what I see myself working on in 5 years, is building a decentralized school. I wanted to call it City of Doors. Yeah, I don't know. I think that's about it.
So 5 years from now for me, and Alano, well, I can envision a future where we're paying people that are homeless on the street to go and plant trees all over the world, no matter the location they're at or who the individual is. Anyone could be getting paid to do a regenerative action. And that's the future that we're wanting to create through Alano. So we are going to be able to do that by measuring and verifying that these actions have occurred, as well as the benefits from them. So the benefits would be measured and verified through satellite imagery, smart technology, IoT, and georeference imagery from boots on the ground, just showing that these actions have occurred and showing this is the amount of carbon or water or soil, etc., benefit from it. So that's the future, and we're wanting to be able to co-create that surveillance solution with any and all of the different regenerative finance organizations and environmental organizations that are wanting to collaborate together to see this future in existence. So that's awesome.
I just have one more thing to add. Thinking about the future and in a more general sense, I think that really, if we create more public goods for society, then in the future we won't need to create more jobs. I think part of like what right now what we depend on is people to have jobs so that they can have money, so that they can buy the things that are ultimately like rival risk or excludable goods. But what if we could actually create public goods like community gardens? When I was living in Costa Rica, I spent one Sunday afternoon with my partner building a garden. We just like built like a 3-tier garden, and we planted a bunch of vegetables. And then in a couple of months, we had so much food. I didn't even go to the grocery store. I didn't go to the grocery store for months, and that was just one afternoon's work for 2 people. So I think that like what we could start to think about as we move towards the future is like how can we actually create public goods that everyone can benefit from. Situations where it's like homeless people don't need to beg for food because there's tons of community food available. Like we could plant community gardens and we could have resources that everyone can access, that anyone can access equally, and then we don't actually need more jobs. And then what we can actually do is just like, well, we could do so many things. Humans are always interested in like learning and building and creating more. So it's like I think we could just build so many things on top of that, and we can consider the ways that we can actually meet everyone's human needs, basic human needs, with public goods. And I think that's the future.
Nice. Yeah. I think something also to consider, like we have this basic concept of public goods as self-sustaining economies, but we probably shouldn't understate how difficult it's going to be to get to this point. The analogy that I have at this point, it's kind of like we've invented wheels and we've invented an internal combustion concept, and we know that we have in our future cars, but when we had those 2 elements, we didn't actually understand how far away we were from having roads with cars that were bringing people from point A to point B. It's complicated technology. There's a lot of stuff that we're going to get wrong, and we're going to have to trial and error and fix it and become better at it. But I think also in combination with that, this skill of token engineering is hard work, and it's a knowledge that most people won't be able to have. And so Token Engineering Commons, developing people who have this skill set of building token economies, these are going to be unbelievably important people in the future, where they're basically the car mechanic of, like, we have this end homelessness in wherever DAO, and it's not working. The token price has been tanking, people are bailing. Like, we got to bring it to the mechanic. We got to make sure this economy is working so that it's actually accomplishing that public good. And it's, yeah, I just don't want to like say that we're here. We've got a ways to go, but it's going to happen. There's no part of it that's impossible. It's all there.
What's One Hive 5 years from now?
One Hive 5 years from now is, in my hope, feeding the gardens economies with new technologies that will continuously help make their jobs easier. So we have Gardens is the One Hive governance framework that is able to work for whatever your purpose is, and there's a lot more to build. Like I said, we're just building the beginning of these tokens economies, so we're going to have to keep refining how these things work. But in 5 years, my hope is that we have these Gardens token economies that are providing the compensation for the people who want to be working on these projects, so that they can quit their day job, quit their boring
Amen.
How much time do we have left? We're already done? Okay. All right.
We'll
Well,
have to do this again, huh?
Yeah.
I don't feel like we were even quite.
It was just
we were
getting good
there,
right here.
yeah.
Cool. Yeah, we're just getting started.
all right. Yeah, perfect. So yeah, let's go around. How can we get hold of everyone?
Yeah, so I'm Lauren. You can follow me on Twitter at Acid, or you can check out Giveth's Twitter, Giveth.io. I have more constantly, so you can listen to me all the time at Giveth. I would love to get more people involved in Giveth, and we're actually hiring. So if any of what I was talking about is interesting to you, come find me, or I'll point you to Heather and or Griff back there waving his hand. Yeah, we're hiring.
I'm Kyle Stargarden. You can find me on Twitter, Medium. I don't know. If you type Kyle Stargarden in, you'll probably find me all over the place. So, yeah, Rainbow Rolls, that is at nftp.fun. If you happen to go mint a cheeky little toilet paper roll NFT, 70% of whatever the purchase price of your roll is goes directly to Giveth, Gitcoin, and RIP Medical Debt. I guess it's not directly. It goes into our multi-sig, but then we send it to them.
For Acorn, just go into the Panvala site, and we are one of the listed organizations on Panvala. You can find all about us on the Panvala site. Really appreciate anybody that's interested. Stay tuned to Panvala with our community. Cool.
Thank you.
Thank you, everyone.